quite difficult to tell those two kinds of tunas apart, but the experts can do that. You can see they're really moving pretty quickly through here. You know, these fish can cruise at a speed of about 25 miles an hour, but when they need to put on a burst of speed, they can go 50 miles an hour. And remember, water is much, much denser than air, so that's really quite an athletic feat. There are some medium-sized fish you might see moving through with these big tunas and mahi-mahi. If you see something that has big black and white stripes going up and down, those are pilot fish. They like to hang around with these bigger animals and clean up some of the scraps that get left behind. You might also see something that look kind of like small versions of the tunas, and they've got a beautiful light diagonal line on them, and they are known as bonito fish, which is a great name because they are quite lovely. So we're dropping in these big pieces for the big animals, and once they're pretty well fed, then it will be time to bring up those 15,000 sardines that you see coming up like a flash mob here. Now watch for the surface of the water when they get ready to feed the small fish here. Whoa! You will see something. There we go. It looks like a little bit of fish pellets being dropped in the water up on that top right side of the tank right now. These are small pellets that look very much like what you might feed dogs or cats at home. So here's some fish pellets being dropped in, and the taste of those, the smell and taste of those, will attract those sardines to come on up and tells them it's their turn to feed. Now, these little sardines are really remarkable. How do they stay away from all these big fish? Well, you can see that they school together really tightly. They can actually feel their neighbors swimming around next to them. They're going to be coming up here in just a minute in a big mob, I think. And that's why I call them my flash mob. When they come up here, you'll notice how they school together really tightly. So what they're doing is they're using sensors on the sides of their bodies to feel when their neighbor moves, and they move along with their neighbor. And in fact, there are no leaders among the sardines. Everyone can be a sardine, and everyone will follow each other. They don't have any leaders. So those sardines are really good at staying in tight schools. That's because it's harder for the big fish to pick them off if they're all together like one big organism. And this is one of the ways that small fish stay safe around big fish. So she's sprinkling a little bit more of those fish pellets in. We'll see if the sardines come on up here in just a moment or so. You know, sardines like this were so important to the economy of Montery at one time. They used to call these the silver gold of the bay. They were very, very important to our canneries here during the last century. And once upon a time, we thought all these sardines had been fished out. Here they come. They are pretty impressive. Now, here's something you can try. Pretend you are a big, hungry fish, and try following just one of these little sardines. Count to maybe about 20 or 30 and see if you can follow one fish at a time. It's actually pretty hard, and this is exactly why they school together like this. It definitely keeps them safer from those big fish that have to pick them off one by one in order to eat them. Now you can see that those little sardines are making some really quick work of some of that food being sprinkled in addition to the pellets that she's dropping in. Teresa's also going to be tossing in some krill in just a minute. Now krill will look like sort of a pink orangey cloud at the top of the water. Now krill are actually very small little crustacean-like animals, shrimp-like animals. And not only are they important at the small end of the food chain, like these little sardines, they are also food for some of the biggest animals in the sea. So krill are also food for whales and some of the largest sharks, the basking sharks and the whale sharks also eat krill. So very important part of the food chain that way. These little fish and other fish like them, anchovies and other small fish like these sardines, they are a very important link in the food chain of the ocean. And they really do have an important part to play as food for larger animals. And maintaining that delicate balance of the food chain out in the ocean can be tricky work. And I know that many of you are interested in helping to help maintain our oceans in a healthy way. So one thing you can do is that for those of you who like to eat seafood like I do, you can make intelligent decisions, informed decisions about what you're eating. We've made that a lot easier for you because it can be very confusing. We've put out our Seafood Watch guides and our Seafood Watch apps, so you don't even have to get the paper to do this. But what we've done is we've made a real simple system. Green light means go. These are animals that are sustainably harvested. Red means stop. Maybe these are animals we want to check off our lists for the time being until we can find better ways to manage those stocks or take those fish in a responsible way. So we've made that easy. I've got both our West Coast guide and our sushi guide with me today, so if you want to stop by afterwards. Also, as I said, we have both iPhone and Droid apps for this, so you can do without the paper altogether, and they're free to download at seafoodwatch.org. So you can see that those little sardines are really making short work of all that food and all the scraps, the tiny scraps of food that were left behind by the bigger fish. They tend to like to go back down to the bottom of this exhibit because they feel a little more protected there. They have an extra wall around them down near the bottom, so that's why they tend to make a big flashy disappearance when they go back down to the bottom of the exhibit. There's also a second window down in our Vanishing Wildlife exhibit where you can watch these same animals through a big window downstairs as well. Well, that about wraps it up for this morning. If you have questions, you'd like to pick